Do you have low back pain? I mean, even once in a while, or is it kind of a constant nagging thing that's going on for you? Well, you're not alone. Most people end up sitting at desks a lot and staring at a computer screen. So we don't take enough time to move our spines and build a little bit of core strength and even understand the relationship of the whole spine and the relationship to our feet, and just like how we can maybe change some of our habits and even make a little bit of time every day to get our spine moving so that our back feels good. So what you will need for this practice is some kind of blanket or pillow or towel that you can roll up, so you have a nice roll that we're going to lie back on. And a pair of yoga blocks is always nice to have, especially if your low back is tight, which probably means your hamstrings are a little tight, and they just help you to, it helps to kind of raise the floor up and helps you to make it a little easier to do some of the things that we're going to be doing. So let's start on our seated with our hands resting on our knees and just begin to move our spines a little bit. So we'll start with some cat-cows. So as you inhale, press your chest forward, keeping your shoulders moving back for cow pose. And as you exhale, round your spine, let your chin lower towards your chest. Inhale, feel like you're lifting up and arcing your heart forward as if someone was pushing the back bottom tips of your shoulder blades forward. And then exhale, you let your shoulders round forward. And just continue to move back and forth, gliding with your breath. And make your breath intentional so that you're aware of your breathing and aware of the fullness of your breath. And come back to neutral, and just to bring a little more awareness to our breath and the movement that is created by the breath, I'd like you to just start kind of sandwiching your belly between your hands, between your front and your back. And you can close your eyes so you can feel this a little more, profoundly or with a little more awareness. So as you inhale, you want to feel like your front body is pressing into your hand and your back body is pressing into your hand. And then as you exhale, you feel like your hands are coming a little closer together. And on the inhale, they're moving a little further apart. And at first you might not feel much movement in your back. But as you focus on this, you might feel that you're starting to get a little more movement and feel the breath a little more fully. And you might even find that without thinking about it, you start to sit up a little taller. Now take your hands on either side of your waist. And same thing, we want to feel the inhale, that our hands get pushed out a little bit. And on the exhale, they come in a little bit. So this isn't necessarily a big movement, but it's something that you want to be able to feel. And if you can just occasionally take a break at your desk, maybe just stand up and do this full breathing where you're feeling your front and your back body move as well as your side bodies, that can be really helpful. Good. Now release your hands and bring your hands behind your back. Interlace your fingers and then reach back. So as you reach back, try not to let your chest come forward, but instead think of pulling your ribs in so that you get more stretch into the shoulders, maybe even across the front of the shoulders. So you might not be able to lift your arms up very far. They might just go back and down. But just kind of play with whatever kind of movement you can find there. Good. So now release your hands. Place your right hand down on the ground and reach your left arm up and across. So you can think of lowering your ribs so the line from your hip to your fingers is more diagonal. And notice how that feels. And then think of bring your ribs like over to the left so your side is in more of a curve, and notice how that feels. And just kind of go back and forth between stretching in a straight line and stretching in a curved line. And just notice the difference. And come back through center, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. So it doesn't matter if you start straight or curved, but just see if you can feel the difference so that you notice there's all the little things can make a pretty big difference in how you feel and what your goal is. And sometimes it's nice to just have some variety there. Good. Come back to center and interlace your fingers, stretch your palms forward, and then let your back round. Inhale. As you lift up, this time come into a little bit of a back bend. So lift your chest up as you reach back with your arms. And then as you exhale, round forward. And then inhale, lift up, reach back. Exhale, round forward. One more time. Inhale, lift up and reach back. And exhale, round forward. Stretch your arms up one more time, and then as you exhale, release your arms down. Rotate the palms up and reach up, maybe even gaze up. And let your eyes follow your hands as you bring your hands down through center, all the way down, as far down as you can go with keeping the wrists together. And then release your hands, reach up, gaze up at your hands, and with your eyes, follow your hands as they lower down. So this is a really nice exercise for your eyes, which they often kind of end up being like just not moving very much, staring at the computer screen. So we're just getting a little bit of movement into our eyes. On your next inhale, reach up, and as you exhale, twist over to your right. Instead of slouching, think of sitting up nice and tall, moving both shoulders back, keeping your chin like kind of parallel to the floor. Then inhale, reach up again, and exhale, twist to the other side. Then inhale, reach up, and exhale, twist. One more time, inhale, reach up, exhale, twist. And come back to center. We're going to work a little bit on our feet because our feet are our foundation. And if our feet are off balance, then it can throw our knees off, which can throw our hips off, which can throw our back off. It throws off really everything up through the whole body. So let's take our left foot and cross it over the right knee. And if this is too hard for you to do seated, you could try this sitting on the edge of a chair or even lying down on your back. Okay, so just find a position that's comfortable for you. Take your right hand and thread your fingers in between your left toes. Try and get in nice and tight to the base of the fingers and the base of the toes. And then grab your foot, almost like you're shaking someone's hand, and create a little tension by pulling your toes away from your heel. And then do a little bit of flexion and extension. Just feeling the movement or stiffness in your feet and your toes. And you also want to twist your foot. And it can be nice to use the thumb of the opposite hand to get in and massage all around the arches of your foot, even into the heel. So we have 3 arches: the inner arch, the medial arch, the outer arch, the lateral arch, and the transverse arch that goes right underneath the metatarsal heads. So that's like your foundation. That's where you want to feel the weight evenly in your feet when you're standing. And now let's switch to the other side. Thread your left fingers between your right toes. Create a little traction and begin to move your toes back and forth. Twist your foot a little bit. Massage along the arches. And just notice the quality of the tissue of your feet. Is it stiff and tense? Are you finding any lumps? Or is it nice and pliable and moving? We have 26 bones in our feet. Think about that. 26 bones in this small amount of space, 33 joints and over 100 tendons and ligaments. So that means our feet are made to move a lot. Good. And now just sit up nice and tall, flex your feet, and notice how they feel. Notice that energy, maybe even moving up your body. Let's come onto our hands and knees and tabletop. And begin to do some cat-cows in a kneeling position. As you inhale, lift your tailbone up, stretch your chest forward, and pull your shoulders back. So what you want to feel is a nice arc, nice curve in your whole back, and even getting into your upper back. And press into your hands, round your spine, let your head dangle. And just go back and forth. So even if you can do some cat-cows, seated or on your hands and knees, every day, a couple minutes, I think your back is gonna feel a lot better. Because we've got to get the spine moving, it's meant to move. All right, we have 7 cervical vertebrae, 12 thoracic, and 5 lumbar. So that's a lot of small bones, which means a lot of potential for movement. Just a couple more of these. And now come back to a neutral position. So by neutral, I mean maybe kind of halfway between how much you can arch and how much you can round. But you want to keep a tone in your belly so that there's an internal lift. Stretch your left leg back. Press strongly into your big toe mount until you feel that there's a little bit of lift, like your ribs want to lift away from the floor a little bit. Keep that lift. Bring your leg up and stretch your arm forward. And then you can stretch out through your fingers and toes and flex and point and flex and point. And then draw your knee and your elbow together, pulling your knee up nice and high, and then inhale, stretch out again. And exhale, hug in. Inhale, stretch out. Exhale, hug in. Try and lift your knee up as high as you can, your elbow up high, and stretch out again. One more time. Hug in and stretch out. And we'll do the other side. So stretch your right leg back, pressing out through your big toe mound. Keep the lift of your belly as you float your leg up and float your left arm forward. And point through your toes, point through your fingers, reach, 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 reach. And then flex your hand and your foot and point. And flex and point and flex and point, flex, point. And then draw your elbow and your knee together, keeping it lifted. So try not to hang low, but try and reach high. And stretch out and hug in and stretch out, hug in. One more time, stretch out, hug in, and come back to your tabletop. Now just close your eyes and let your body move. In no particular way. Just getting into your body and moving spontaneously. Because your body knows what to do. Good. Come back to center. Walk your hands forward, coming onto your forearms, and walk your knees back, coming onto your belly. Point through your toes and press your feet down to the floor. Press down through your hands and try and grab the mat and pull it towards you so your chest moves more forward. Take your tailbone and stretch it towards your heels. So you get a little, it's not a lot of movement, but it's just the difference between relaxed and trying to lengthen that low back a little bit more. So we're trying to almost kind of sort of flatten the low back, but arc into the upper back. So we take strain off the low back and bring it up into the chest area. Not the strain, but the curve. And just see if you can relax here. Don't let your shoulders roll forward. Keep the shoulders back. And lower your chest down. Slide your hands towards your ribs. Don't let the shoulders drop, but keep them lifted and elevated. Grab the mat with your hands so you create some energy and just curl up a little bit. Extend forward as you lower. Inhale, curl up. Exhale, extend forward. One more time. Inhale, curl up. Exhale, extend forward. Lift your hips. Bring your knees forward and apart. Stretch forward into child's pose. So keeping your arms active, on your inhale, round your spine and come forward. And on your exhale, glide back. And inhale, round forward. Exhale, glide back. Inhale, round forward. Exhale, glide back. And come back into your tabletop so you can walk your hands in a little bit. Stretch your right leg out, lift it up, and stack your right hip over the left hip. Reach out through your toes. And then swing your leg out to the side, lower it down, and start to move around. In circles, back and forth. You can flex and point your foot. You can invert it and evert your ankle. And you can externally and internally rotate your hips. So we want to get into the adductors, the inner thigh muscles. They often get really tight, and that can pull on your back. Then step your foot forward into a lunge. Here's where you might want to use yoga blocks if you have them. Then first stretch your knee forward, trying to keep your heel down. So you'll get a big stretch in your back hip flexor, but you also get some stretch into your Achilles tendon and some dorsiflexion into your ankle. Then shift your hips back. Maybe slide your foot forward a little bit. Try not to round your back too much here. As much as you can, stretch forward, almost flattening your back a little bit, bringing your ribs a little closer to your thighs. But it's all going to depend on your hamstrings and how much of this, how close to this position you can get. So if your back is rounded and your knee is bent, but you still feel a good stretch back here, that's just fine. That's great. You want to feel the stretch right in the belly of the muscles, not up by your glute, but kind of in the belly where the meat of the muscle is. And you can even try doing little cat-cow actions here. So the rounding will release some of the stretch, and the lengthening will engage some of the stretch. Good. And then step back into your tabletop position. Stretch your left leg back. Float it up. And then externally rotate your hips so you're stacking your left hip on top of the right, and internally rotate. So notice I'm moving at the hip joint. I'm not swinging my leg behind me to open up the hip. Instead, I'm moving right at the hip joint, trying to keep the hips relatively still. And then when I'm externally rotated, bring your leg out to the side. And again, start to move around. So you could do circles, you could move back and forth. You could flex your foot, and then you could point it. You could invert your ankle, and you could evert it. And you can externally rotate and internally rotate. So all these different opportunities to create some space. And step your foot forward into your lunge. Remember, try and keep that heel down as you reach your knee forward. And feel the big stretch in this back hip flexor. And shift your weight back for your hamstring stretch. And just try little adjustments so that you can find your edge to a certain extent. And by edge, I mean that you feel some discomfort, you feel a feeling of stretching, but not so tight that it feels like you could almost break your hamstring. So we want to be gentle with ourselves. And at the same time, just kind of exploring. Then step back into your tabletop, and we're going to come into downward facing dog. So reach your hands forward, your hips back, almost like you're going into child's pose, and lift your hips up. So the idea here is that our hips are way back behind our hands instead of halfway forward. So a lot of people end up doing down dog like this and put a lot of pressure on their wrists and their hands. But we want to kind of lighten the load and evenly distribute the weight between our hands and our feet. So stretch back nice and long into your down dog. And even here you can do little pelvic tilts. Just moving the pelvis, lifting the tailbone up and tucking it under a little bit. And then you could round forward into plank and bend your knees and arc back into down dog. And just keep this nice fluid action going. And stretch way back. And we're going to come into a lunge with our right foot forward. So you can walk forward and step your left foot back, or you could reach your right leg up, reach back through your toes, and then pull your knee into your chest again and step your foot forward. Keep the back knee lifted, straighten the front leg, and try and reach forward over the front leg. And you can kind of rock back and forth, lifting the front foot up, lowering it down, lifting the back heel up. Or you can even try reaching both feet to the flat on the floor. Good, now bend your front knee so your knee's right over your ankle. Let your back heel come up a little bit so that you're mostly balancing on your toes. And press down through your feet. Come on up into crescent lunge. Reach your arms up, chest forward. So your hands will just naturally move back. And you can bend your knee a little bit so your hips lower and press out through that leg again. Maybe lift up a little bit more through your heart. And lower your right hand down and twist to your left. Gazing up at your left fingers. And lower your left hand down. Twist to the right. Gazing up at your right fingers. Lower your right hand down. Swing your leg all the way back into down dog splits. And lower your foot down. We'll play with the other side. So stretch your left leg up and back. And tightly pull your knee into your chest and step your foot all the way forward. Keep the back heel lifted. Rise up. Crescent lunge. And just like a flower gradually opening, you can bend that back knee to lower the hips, stretch out through your heel, and rise up through your chest, letting your fingers reach back naturally. And lower your hands back down. Step back to your down dog. And maybe just move around. Just play around in down dog. You could bend one knee at a time. Get nice and long. And walk forward to your hands. And see if you can come into a squat. So feel free to widen your feet as far apart as they need to be. And if you turn your toes out, it's a little bit easier to lower your hips down. And think of letting your hips go fairly close to the ground. And you can reach your arms forward, and that'll stretch out your low back. You can let your head dangle. And lower your hips all the way to the floor as slowly as you can. Take your blanket or your towel or whatever you've got, and we're going to roll it up and use it as a support underneath our shoulders, because if we can open up the upper back, the low back will release as well. So the beauty of this is you can make this roll as high or as big as you want. So maybe just roll it up about, depending on your blanket, I don't know, halfway or all the way. And we want the roll to be right here at the bottom tip of our shoulders, not up by the neck. So just lower down And what you want to feel is that the blanket is pressing the bottom tips of your shoulder blades up. So the top of your shoulders are going to fall down. And you create this nice little arch in your back. You can open your arms up into a cactus position. And just rest here and breathe. See if you can find that same full movement of your breath that we practiced in the beginning. So even without using your hands to feel the movement, can you feel your belly rising a little bit as your back expands toward the floor? So like creating more space in your body. And then as you exhale, the space kind of gets a little smaller. And this is how we ideally want to breathe, so that we naturally take fuller breaths in and out through our nose. But when we're tense and maybe just sitting really still and focusing really hard on the screen, then our breath tends to become shallow and we don't get this movement. We don't get this healthy massage. So we're just going to stay here for another maybe 10 breaths. Just focusing on your breath and the movement. And just imagining your back relaxing. Imagine any part of your body that holds tension, either now or you just notice it as a habit. Just think of that part of your body relaxing. And let your mind be quiet and just focus in the present moment on the movement of the breath and allowing your body to relax and let go. And for some people, it's very difficult to lie still, but it's so important. It's something that we really can't ignore or forget, or eventually we pay the price. I'm guessing just about everyone has experienced some kind of burnout at some point in their life, where you get sick. And sometimes that's your body's way of forcing you to relax and slow down. So just 3 more breaths here. Slow and easy. And after you finish your 3rd breath, you can bend your knees, roll to your side, maybe roll the blanket up the rest of the way, have it handy for later. And we're just going to lie back on our backs again. Oh boy, notice now how your back feels, your whole back. Because opening up the upper back that we tend to round in the opposite direction out of habit, now it's kind of lengthened and it sends that length throughout your whole back. All the vertebrae benefit. So everything is interconnected by fascia and nerves and tissues and muscles and tendons, and it's like everything we do is going to affect another part of our body, whether we notice it or not at the time. Bend your knees and cross your right ankle above your left knee. And you can either leave your foot down if this is a big stretch for you, or you can pick your left foot up. Now you can thread your right hand in between your legs and clasp the back of your left leg, if that's what you're used to or you want to do that. Or you can leave your arms out to the side so your shoulders are relaxed, and just use the power of this left leg to draw your right leg a little closer to your chest. And you can slowly come in and out of this, the intensity of the stretch, so that you can really feel what's going on, so that you're fully present with the sensations that arise. And we'll switch sides. So cross the left ankle above the right knee. You're welcome to thread your left arm in between your legs and clasp the back of your right leg if you want. Or you could join me keeping your arms open and just using the power of your leg to draw that left leg in a little tighter and release it. This little gentle movement, and you're welcome to hold it for a little bit as well. But I would not hold it to the point where your body's tensing because like it's trying to protect itself and your mind is going, no, we can go further, and your body's going, no, we can't. So it's like you want to kind of have those voices be in agreement with each other and find just that right spot. And you can move around a little bit side to side or circles. Uncross your legs and bring your legs together. Now, you could put a pillow or something in between your legs if you know that your back is tight for twisting, or you could have something that you can support your legs on. For example, you could take that towel or blanket, and we're going to twist our knees over to the left. And if you need that support or you want that support, feel free to do that. You could even place it between your knees. Or you could opt to not use it at all. So your choice. Turn your head to the right. So your upper body is twisting to the right and your lower body is twisting to the left. And just see how much you can relax here. So twisting our body just the right amount is really healthy for our back, but twisting it too much could be harmful. You never really want to force the twist, but at the same time, it's important to get some twisting motion into your spine every day. And pull your knees into your chest, and we're going to twist to the other side. So again, feels free to switch your blanket around if you would like to use that. Or you don't have to use anything. But again, think of your upper body as twisting to the left. So your head is turned to the left, and your lower body is twisting to the right. And just relax here. And pull your left hip back to the floor to bring your legs up. Place your feet as wide as the mat. We're just going to gently roll our legs from side to side. Take enough time to just stretch out through the top knee and just see how close your knees want to go toward the floor. And then we'll just stay on one side for a few breaths. So twist your knees to the right. Maybe stretch out through your left knee as you pull your left hip more toward the ground. So you create a little bit of an active stretch on your quads. And we'll switch sides. This time stretching out through your right knee, the top leg. And a few more breaths here. And hug your knees in towards your chest. Maybe wrap your arms around your legs. Give yourself a little squeeze. And stretch out for a short savasana. So if you can stay here for 5 minutes, that'd be great. If you can stay here for at least 30 seconds to a minute, that'd be good too. But give your body time to assimilate and enjoy the new like opening that you've created through this practice. Just notice how you feel. Find that full breath again, where you feel the movement upward and downward through your back, like up through your belly, down, out, away from your spine on your back, and out from the sides, so that you have this full spherical breath. And even though you're lying still, you still want to feel movement. Like there should be a movement that you feel in your body from your breath. And you can stay here as long as you like, or you could come back up to a comfortable seat and notice how you feel sitting. So keeping your eyes closed, just notice the transformation that happens from this movement that we've created, that we practice, from the breath that we've explored. And these are simple things that can really help the health of your low back, really the health of your whole body. And please bring your hands together in front of your heart. Namaste. So thank you so much for joining me in this video. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day or evening, but your body will definitely thank you for it. And I would love it if you would subscribe, press the notification bell, tell your friends, and leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear how you feel and any requests that you might have. So again, thank you for coming. See you soon.